times.
Oh, yes.
In those 22 years. And you are very supportive of colleagues and young nurses coming through. Could you give us some examples of those times?
Yes, so times when you just feel under immense pressure and you feel that your race is playing a part in it. It's more than a feeling, it's almost explicit. And you have to find it in you to carry on. And you have a mortgage to pay, you have children to feed. It's tough. So what I have done is, when it feels like that cloud of darkness is just coming over you, is pause and think of the journey that I'm on and reach out, never being too proud to reach out to someone and say, can I have a chat? So I have a coach, as I said before, who is very good, who knows when I need to kind of just talk things through, and she'll just listen. And at the end of it, she'll say, so what are your options? And it's just reminding myself that I'm never in a corner. As much as it feels like you're backed in a corner and there's no hope, there's always hope. Just the mere fact that you know you can reach out to someone in confidence and say, I need a chat, and a problem shared is a problem halved. You come out and think, you know what? I'm going to call it a day for today, and I'll come back stronger tomorrow. I've had times when I've just said, it's 4 o'clock. You know what? This day can't go any worse unless I let it. So I'm gonna sign off now. I'll make my tomorrow list and I'll be back. And that psychological drawing a line under a bad day to say, I'll come back stronger tomorrow.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Definitely. You have to have that in you where you kind of say, well, it is what it is. I understand that you don't get me. I understand that you don't like me. Maybe what I should be doing is going on to NHS jobs and finding a job for myself. But it's just being pragmatic and not being desperate to leave. Because actually, even if you're in a situation where you feel that you're not wanted or you don't fit, you have a legal right to have a job. So you can raise concerns. And those are things that I've done in a very professional way. I'm a very professional, measured person. But when it comes to standing up for my rights and advocating for others, I will turn up. So I'll transform from a lovely kitten into a lioness. I was doing a career talk, and it was some colleagues from a BME background, and they said, but Nicole, we're knocking on the door and the door's not opening. I said, that's not your door. That's just not your door. You have to have this thing that you know when that door is just not for you. And as hard as it is, and with the tears coming down, you walk away and you don't turn back. That's not your door. And you have to find ways to find windows. There will not always be a lovely door with for you to knock on. Let me in.
That's such a wise thing.
Find windows and jump in. I have done that. I've done that in the past, where when I say a window, it's an opportunity that just presents itself, and you seize that moment, and you even if you don't feel 100%, you go through. But knocking on the door that's not for you, it demoralizes you and knocks your confidence. So when the right door is just next to that door, you're still focused and preoccupied on this one. Not for you. That's not your tribe behind that door. Is people who are not nurses will be inspired by my journey. So I use my fellowship of the Royal Society of Arts as a first generation immigrant. Not many nurses are. You have Brian Dolan, Professor Brian Dolan, who you had on recently. He's also a fellow. And it just means that I am able to network with people from different industries to learn how they do leadership as well. What's going on in cyberspace, in different fields that we in the NHS would not be exposed to. So when you see me do my blogs, my vlogs, my writing, I am trying to say to people who look at me and think, what's she doing that for? Why doesn't she just focus on that? It's actually that we are complex human beings, and for us to go up to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we need to be exposed to different things to open our minds. So yes, I enjoy it very much. I just think if you can look back at your life and say you've achieved your full potential, that you looked out for opportunities and grabbed them, that's success. if you have to look back and think, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that, that might taint your view on success. But yeah, freedom to be you.
What is a maroon mindset?
Well, the Maroons were these rebellious, enslaved slaves. Well, some would say they were never enslaved, but they ran away into the mountains and fought back. They thought, I'm not having this. So they're very ingenious. You know, I talked about when the door doesn't open, find a window. The maroon mindset just means, just like that palm tree in that hurricane that's bent to the point where it's going to break. Everybody said it's going to break, and then it doesn't break. That's my maroon mindset. So I will, when the wind stops, slowly, over a period of time, with humility, come back up. So that maroon mindset just means I'm not going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, what you want me to be, or I'm an angry Black female. I am always talking about racing and angry. No, I'll talk about race in a very fun way, but you'll get the message that I am going to call out injustice. You will leave my presence and think, you know what? She has a point, because I haven't rammed it down your throat. I'm very gentle and very calm. But when it needs to be said, that was wrong, and we don't tolerate that, my tone will change. So that maroon mindset just means, come at me if you need to come at me because you think that you can break me. But believe me, I will not be broken. So my maroon mindset consultants, it was in the pandemic that I started it, when staff were contacting me when we realized that there was a disproportionate impact of COVID on people from an ethnic minority, and they really needed some help in advocating for even getting a risk assessment. I set up my maroon mindset. No, I'm not the best business person. I studied business and majored in marketing, but I do it more for the joy of helping people. So when people come to me, I just give the services free, but it's a badge that I wear proudly, that if I needed to relaunch my business and to do it full time, because I just don't have the time now, I would be able to do it. But what it does, people say to me, I have maroon blood in me, and I've always been ashamed of it, Nicole, but you've made me proud. And I think, oh my goodness, I did it because I was coping with my mess and my world, and they have drawn strength from it. And that just gave me a warm feeling inside, because it's like, it's worth it. Just for someone to send me a link and say, Nicole, I saw this film about the Maroons. I'm sure you'd love it. It just means that people are owning who they are and their Black skin, and not being ashamed, and walking proudly into rooms and showing up and representing themselves, and not feeling burdened as the only Black person in a room. Because that's another topic that we could talk on for days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't know is, when I was a student nurse, a relative of a patient just looked at me and said, you're the nicest one of your kind I've ever seen. When somebody says that to you, was in 1997, I came here in 96. For a moment, you have to replay that in your head, because you can't believe that that is what has just been said. And then you start thinking, it must be a culture shock, maybe in this culture, that's how they talk. But then I felt like a mango. I felt like a thing, like an exotic tropical thing that you don't see often. I felt hurt, but I was stunned into silence. It's like, just grin and bear it. And for centuries, Black people have had these, what they call microaggressions, micro insults, just thrown at them, and you don't develop a thick skin. I don't buy that. It hurts, and we're going to call it for what it is. It's racism. And it was Trevor Noah who was saying something similar happened to him, charming racism. And you said it's an oxymoron, and it's true. You talked about how I stay composed. In my head, if you knew what was in my head, but as I was saying to Mark Radford recently, what comes out is completely opposite. That takes years of being emotionally intelligent and not reacting to pressure. So in my head, I'm thinking of the Catherine Tate Nan. Everybody who knows me know that I love the Catherine Tate Nan. Yeah? Playing in liberty. But in out of my mouth comes, thank you for that. I've just noted that. I'll get back to you. Leave that with me. It's not that I can't go down to the pond, bottom of the pond. I just refuse to go to the bottom of the pond. So I would read Michelle Obama's Becoming. That's a book for you to read. Michelle Obama is a hero. She's a legend. in terms of how she became who she is. The struggle is real. I would say what you could do, this thing about where people have in my career watched me be what I refer to as pancaked, yeah, humiliated in a room of senior people, watched silently. And the reason it happened is because they knew they could rely on your silence. Don't be silent. Even if it means that your voice is shaking and the tears come, do not be silent. In that moment, say, hang on a minute. Nicole has said she'll get back to you. Can we give her some time to get back? That's all I need, the ear cover for me to get away, whatever information, and go and get it. What I have an issue with is when someone comes, and it has happened, after the call, privately to say, I can understand why you got upset. It won't be pretty. That time I won't be able to channel that Catherine Hayden, that I won't be able to be composed. I will it will just come out as it is, the hurt, the humiliation, that shame. So when people talk about after George Floyd standing in the gap can mean so many different things. We rely on you as allies to kind of think, hang on a minute, would I be happy with being spoken to like that and saying, I think she said she can't. Believe me, what's going to come to you as a punishment for that pales in comparison to the respect that others there will have for you and I'll have for you. And the next time it happens, over a period of time, it takes courage, because you're also worried about what you're going to be called, and we won't go into what people are called when they're allies. But it's so important that we have people who don't look like us, don't sound like us, being as outraged as you felt on Twitter. And saying,
and I think
this is not right. This is not right. And we don't know how we're going to change it, but I'm calling it out what it is. And together we're going to try to find a way out of this. I don't have the answers, because don't think you must have the answers. But just turning up and saying, I am not happy is enough. Watching this, I would say that everyone needs to pledge. And it doesn't have to be big. It has to be something that you mean from the heart, that will make a change, not just to you, but to others around you. And even if the pledge is that I'm going to try to find the courage to speak out in the moment, that's a win. It's in the moment that we need people speaking out.